This is internal struggle, and I'll talk about what inspired me to do this, why I do this type of work in addition to my landscapes that are more detailed. I'll talk about use of magazine clippings and how I preserve them for the original, and also how I take photos for prints. So first of all, internal struggle. This was just based on kind of how I feel about what people present to the world. Oftentimes they'll put a facade on, they'll let you see the good stuff, but inside usually there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that aren't necessarily positive. So I wanted this to reflect that in an abstract way. So I did that used with color. I also did that with messages I found in magazines. Put in here an argument in your head. I don't know if anyone's had that before, but an imagined argument with maybe your mate. Along with this, first of all, why I do this every once in a while, I mentioned with my other work, with the acrylic pours, with the oil details put in, that takes a lot of time, a lot of concentration, weeks of work, some redos on it. So it's very consuming. So after I complete one of those works, I want to do something totally different because that part of my brain is just fried. I'm tired of details and I need a refresher. So then I switch gears and I'll do an abstract piece. So that's why you'll see abstract and my other work on my site. So this one hit all the boxes for me. It didn't involve any paint. It was just paper on this one. So I just got to cut and paste and cut and paste. And it's just fun and it's relaxing to me. It did take time to assemble all the pieces that go into a work like this because I collect old magazines, recycled magazines. I find them at the library or ones I have. My husband, he gets tech journal magazines because he's a computer programmer, so those are full of really cool fonts and images. So I collect all those. I go through them several times. I clip out interesting things in them, and then I file them away by color because that's the main use of them in my work. And then phrases I'll file in a different file. So when I want to do a work like this, I'm like, okay, I'm either going to go on based on color or a theme, and rarely does it do both. And this one actually did both. So I knew I had the theme of that internal struggle and then what we present to the world. I knew I wanted to do something like that. And I also knew what colors I wanted. I wanted the teals and the oranges because those are my favorite colors. So I knew what I wanted there. And then I knew I wanted a separation. And so I had in mind some sort of line between them, like a guard or a fence. So I had those images in mind, so I had to go through all my clippings, which takes hours and days, and I pull out the ones that would work or might work, because I don't always use everything. I put them in a pile according to the colors. I put color piles, and then I go through the phrases file and I pull out phrases that would apply to what I'm working on. So it took a lot of time just to assemble all the materials, and you have to keep them from flying away, and you have to have a surface. So it kind of consumes your studio when you do something like this because you have paper everywhere and any gust of wind blows them. So husband opening the door, paper flies, get angry. So for this one, once I had all the pieces together, I basically just cut and paste mostly with color first, kind of get the background color. This one has like birds up here, and then once I got the main colors down, then I can kind of fade them out into a complementary color. So this one goes to kind of a goldenrod yellow color. And for my separation, I wanted it to be colorless, so it's black and white, gray, and there's images and quotes in this as well, and there's images you don't see until you're really concentrating on it, which is really neat. You'll see images of people's faces or textures that lend to this theme. So with this, there's like I'm obsessed, and there's an argument here that I found in a magazine. So it's like an argument between two individuals. Here's the man, here's the woman. They're facing away from each other. Sometimes we imagine this with people, and it's not really true. So it's what goes on inside of us. Outside is just basically kind of vanilla. We just present like this a picture. It's not really words. It's just kind of, what I want you to see. So I made that wordless, and I just put the outside. So a lot of depth in a person comes inside, and so you have to dig deep. So that's kind of what I was going with that. With the fencing kind of look, it's very sharp. I really did jagged edges on the strips of paper, and it's really sharp and pointy, so it's almost like barbed wire. So it's really hard to get through to the inside. So with magazine clippings, once you get everything glued down and, sprayed with an archival spray, it's still very fragile. The pieces can, just a little bump and they can rip off. So getting something to where it'll last a long time is really hard when it's just strictly paper. So with this one, I covered in resin. And before I put the resin on, which is permanent, and it's, a really durable surface, before I do that, I take a high quality photograph of it for prints. So that way you don't get any reflection from the resin, because you can see a little bit with the lighting I have in here. You'll see little reflections on this right now because it has resin. So just remember that with the original that has resin on it, you do get some reflection from lights. That could be a good or not so good thing depending on where you want to put it. So if you have like a window that's glaring on it, you're going to see the glare, not the picture. So just keep that in mind. I can apply a mattifying spray on something that has resin, and that'll cut down the glare. So if you're interested in a resin covered mixed media painting of mine, then you can specify that you want it mattified. So, and I could totally do that. It's not gonna affect the art underneath it. It'll just keep the glare down. But some people like the shiny, so it depends on who you are. This one is mounted on a really sturdy, thick piece of plywood, and I stain the edges so it just stabilizes it. So it's fairly heavy. It's a kind of a substantial piece. It's tall, so it would look great at the end of a hallway or above a table. Again, I like tall paintings. I do horizontal ones occasionally, but I'm always just drawn to vertical ones, just because you see horizontal ones in people's homes all the time, but you rarely see a vertical one, and I like to be different. So anyway, this is Internal Struggle.